President Trump, Kid Rock, Dana White, and Bill Maher all have dinner last night. Let's listen to Kid Rock tell you how it went down himself.
White House by Kid Rock when Trump signed an executive order targeting ticket scalpers. And now look who's here on this program now. The man, Kid Rock himself. Sir, we're going to get into ticket prices in a second. But first, I want to hear about your dinner with the president. What did you, Bill Maher, and Dana White and the president talk about?
You know, it went so well. We talked about a lot of things that we had in common, which Bill Maher is a big, supporter of Trump's stance on the border, of ending wokeism. The president even asked him about policy, like what he thought with Iran getting a nuclear weapon and how Israel should react. Bill's a big supporter of Israel. We broke bread and talked about things we had in common, and it could not have been more cordial, more nice. I think everyone was so pleasantly surprised. I mean, it was so nice to have my friend Dana White there, and Dana goes, he told me, he goes, Bob, you did the right thing here. This was a good thing. Because everyone was a little suspect about it. Even the president had called me a few days ago. He goes, what the hell you got me doing here? And I'm like, we're just trying to break bread with some of our biggest critics and say, like, hey, it's okay to talk to one another. We can maybe bring a little bit of civility back to this country for reasonable people.
How do you maintain a friendship with Bill Maher? Because you're very different on politics, I think.
Yeah, we've 30 years ago when he had his show Politically Incorrect, it was the first TV show I'd really ever done early in my career. And it's not like we stayed best friends through that, but, he's had me on his podcast and on his TV show. And I'm like, man, this is good to go. It's easy for me to go on Fox News. Everyone's so friendly and so nice. We kind of align with our thoughts and ideas. But I kind of like going into the lion's den a little bit and talking to people who differ than me and seeing, where we can connect on things and just try to be a little more civil.
All I really wanted to hear about was the dinner last night between President Trump and Bill Maher. I know President Trump always has to take the high road after Democrats try to assassinate him, go after his children, his businesses. But I would have loved if Donald Trump asked Bill Maher, the coward, the weasel, the worm, hey, Bill, why were you bringing my mother into the topic, the conversation, something about bring me Donald Trump's mother's head, some ridiculous statement that Bill Maher made talking about President Trump's mother. I would have never have let it slide. That's just me. Bill Maher is insufferable. He's a typical elitist Democrat liberal. He thinks he's hot shit. I can't stand the guy. And Bill Maher, Gavin, Newsom, all these Democrats, they keep saying, like, we have to get together and sit down and figure things out. You're only saying that now because you lost power. And if you were ever to retain power once again, you wouldn't sit down and talk to conservatives or Republicans for 10 seconds. And you know what's wrong with your party, Democrats? You really want to know what the problem is? You are the problem. Gavin Newsom is the problem. Bill Maher is the problem. If you're a young guy and you see the way Bill Maher sits there and drinks his wine and his cigarette in his hand like a little female with high estrogen, does any real man or teenager want to emulate Bill Maher or Gavin Newsom? Little woman insulting people's moms like you know what? Bill Maher's a typical worm where he'll say something like that and then hide behind the police. Trump should have smacked them. That's what he should have did. He should have started off that dinner with a smack. Screw Bill Maher. It's so amazing now that all these Democrats, they want to be centrist. They're pretending to be centrist. Bill Maher, Chris Cuomo, Stephen A. Smith, Gavin Newsom. Don't fall for this garbage. Stephen A. Smith, I don't know why Republicans are so in love with Stephen A. Smith. The guy admitted he voted for Kamala Harris. He voted for Joe Biden. So what does that tell you? That tells you he's a moderate? You can't be a moderate or centrist and vote for those two idiots and criminals who have destroyed the United States of America single-handedly. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have done more destruction to the United States of America than any president and vice president in history of the United States of America. So these Democrats are not centrist. It's a complete joke. I'm so tired of conservatives so-called conservatives, Patrick Bet-David, Sean Hannity, the biggest names in conservative talk, having Stephen A. Smith on and, oh, I really like you. You're a nice guy. You're hard to dislike. It doesn't matter whether you like the man or not. It's what he stands for. And what he stands for is globalism. What he stands for is crime. What he stands for is an open border. He's not your friend. Get it right. Elon Musk and Doge find massive Social Security fraud. So Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Alejandro Mayorkas, they were allowing an open border for a few reasons, but this was the main reason. They were importing millions and millions and millions of illegal voters. And you know what they were doing? As soon as those illegals got to America, they were given Social Security cards without providing any documentation. And when you have a Social Security card, you know what happens? You're able to vote. And that's what Democrats' plan was, to steal elections forever. They were going to import more illegals than American citizens and give them everything for free in order to retain power forever. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Alejandro Mayorkas, they need to be arrested, sent to Gitmo for the rest of their lives. And then the best part about it is this. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they added 1.5 million illegals who have never paid into Social Security a day in their lives. They started to get Social Security benefits. And what will all you liberal lunatic nut jobs say? Oh, Elon Musk is trying to steal our Social Security, as Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Democrats were giving it away to illegal aliens. Let's jump into the video.
We've warned about the Democrats' true motives in leaving the border wide open. Now, it was never an accidental policy. This was done in order to, number one, import cheap labor, and number two, import new Democrats, thus changing the American electorate forever. And yesterday, campaigning for Brad Schimel in that Wisconsin Supreme Court seat, Musk and one of his Doge colleagues shared what they found at the Social Security Administration.
When we saw these numbers, we were like, what is this? In 21, you see 270,000 people, goes all the way to 2.1 million in 24. These are non-citizens that are getting Social Security numbers.
Yeah, this is a mind-blowing chart.
Yeah, we went there to find fraud, and we found this by accident. Once you're in the country and you got asylum, you can apply for a work document. You file a 765, it's the work form. You get this form called the 766, that's the authorization, and then Social Security Administration automatically sends you in the mail your Social Security number. No interview, no ID.
Bingo! Social Security number or card. Now, what could go wrong with that? Well, what do you need to show to vote? To register. In many states, a passport or a license or a Social Security card and a utility bill will suffice. Biden's DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas knew very well what he was doing, the great defender of democracy that he is.
So good.
People sometimes think that under the Biden administration that he was simply asleep at the switch. They weren't asleep at the switch. It was a massive, large-scale program to import as many illegals as possible, ultimately to change the entire voting map of the United States and disenfranchise the American people and make it a permanent, deep blue, one-party state from which there would be no escape.
Of course, those who hate the country and hate the fact that we elected Trump not once but twice, of course, they were desperate to ensure that the country was flooded with millions of mostly illiterate, low-skilled illegals, people who are easily manipulated right up to their party registration. Then came Trump, Elon, and Doge. And day after day, they're exposing how the federal bureaucracy and its defenders are alternatively conniving and incompetent. It's quite an accomplishment. And if Trump wins these court cases, we'll not only save billions and make the government more efficient, we're going to nail the crooks and frauds who game the system the whole time, including any illegals collecting Social Security or, yes, even voting. Now, remember, New York wanted illegals to vote in their local elections, took a court, ultimately the highest court in New York, to stop that. And the Doge team's discoveries are as revealing as they are embarrassing. Same with the fear-mongering that Musk specifically refuted.
I guess it would be helpful because so I can just state it as crisply and clearly as possible that Doge will absolutely ensure that people get their Social Security, make sure they get their Social Security, make sure they get their Medicaid, and will.
I'm going to end it with that. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Alejandro Mayorkas were handing out your Social Security to illegals, and they were eventually going to bankrupt it. So that when hardworking American citizens went to collect their Social Security, it would have been gone. But according to Democrats and insane liberals, Elon Musk is going to steal your Social Security. Meanwhile, Elon Musk and Doge are the ones that saved Social Security. This story is absolutely disgusting. It's disgusting. So Democrats' plan, since they can't win elections because they have nothing to run on. I used to love when everybody would say Alejandro Mayorkas isn't doing his job. No, he's doing his job. He knew exactly what he was doing. Open borders, illegals everywhere, flood every state with illegals, give them Social Security cards so they can vote, and there'll be more illegals than American citizens, and Democrats will retain power forever. They wanted to create a communist utopia, and that's what it would have been. If Kamala Harris would have won that election, you could kiss America goodbye. We were this close, on the brink of never coming back. Do you know how serious that last election was? I don't think people get it. I still don't think they get it. And I'm not talking about these idiot protesters that are paid to burn down Tesla dealerships. I'm talking about regular conservatives, Republicans, hardworking Americans. I don't think you get it. We were an inch away from never being able to come back into power, meaning Republicans. The country was this close from sinking forever. Forever. It's absolutely disgusting, this story. Gavin Newsom sits down with Bill Maher. He calls the Democratic Party toxic. It's absolutely comical that Gavin Newsom is trying to distance himself from his party, which he is the leader of, and he is absolutely toxic. Everything about Gavin Newsom is toxic and vile and communist. Let's jump into the video.
Was in the news today. He said, if you're talking about the Democratic Party, he said, if we don't get our shit together, we're going to be a permanent minority.
I agree.
And I see you're doing something about it. I applaud it. I think it's great. You've got this podcast. You're talking to people. You know, it's amazing to me that even that is controversial to some people. They call it platforming. If you talk to someone you don't agree with.
Yeah.
I feel like this country is divided into owners and healers. People who think you can own the other side. Yeah, well, Gavin Newsom owned DeSantis. Yeah. DeSantis destroyed Gavin Newsom. Yeah. Or people who want to talk and heal. And I feel like the next president's going to be...
Oh, Bill Maher, he's about talking and healing. So you're healing people by allowing an open border with 22 million illegals coming into the country, where a good portion of those illegals are terrorists? Is that healing? Is Lincoln Riley's family healing? Huh, Bill? Is giving away the Social Security that I paid into all my years of work, is giving that to illegals that have never paid into the system? Is that healing, Bill? You clown. These two make me sick.
At least if it comes from this party, the Democratic Party, someone who wants to talk and heal. And I feel like...
Oh, yeah.
It's really been interesting, the reaction to the podcast. I mean, we had some controversial figures on, I'll acknowledge that, and Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and some others. But you're right. I mean, this idea that we can't even have a conversation with the other side.
You have to. They won.
Thank you. That's it. Bottom line. And by the way, or the notion we just have to continue to talk to ourselves or we're in the same damn echo chamber. These guys are crushing us. The Democratic brand is toxic right now. We had a high water mark 2 weeks ago, and that was a CNN poll at 29% favorability. It's dropped in the NBC poll down to 27%. It's one thing to make noise, but you also have to make sense. And I think with this podcast and having the opportunity to dialogue with
nothing's better than watching Gavin Newsom pretend that he has emotions or he's going to get emotional because somebody clapped about healing and coming together. Okay, Gavin. You know, Gavin, your party, nobody in the Democratic Party will come out and condemn the Tesla attacks, burning down buildings, blowing up cars, attacking Tesla owners, and not one single Democrat has came out and said that type of behavior is not acceptable. Knock it off. Gavin Newsom is a scum, you know what. Do not fall for this garbage. These two make me sick. No, you know why they're reaching out to the other side? Because they have no other outs. They have no other outs. They have no cards left. This is the only card they can play. Oh, look at us, election time. Look at us. We reached out to the other side. We don't hate them. We don't hate Donald Trump supporters. Every single decision that Gavin Newsom and Democrats make, their policies let you know they hate America, American citizens, and the working class. Don't fall for this and do not vote for this clown.